Hi, I'm John Connolly. I'm running for mayor. I'm one of your city councilors, and I've made it a point during this campaign to go out and cycle in the different neighborhoods with many people in the cycling community. And I've learned a whole lot doing it. But I also have a record before that of supporting cycling in Boston. I helped leverage grant money to get the Hubway started, and I want to make sure if I'm mayor that we expand our bike infrastructure and support our cycling community. But enough about that, let's get to the questions. I think safety is the major obstacle that discourages ridership, and I certainly feel that personally. I'm the type of cyclist, I think, that we want to see more of in Boston. I bike every now and then, but probably not as much as I should or would like to. And a lot of that has to do with safety. So we've got to start with education, but also the next mayor can make it a priority in the capital budget to expand bike infrastructure with a focus on cycle tracks to help promote safety and more cyclists getting out across the city. I've supported reforming our school assignment system so that we can make sure every child can go to a high-quality school close to home. And if we do that, I'd love to see children biking to school. I would bike to school when I was going to high school, but you never see that in Boston anymore. And I want to see Teddy and Claire and someday Mary Kate, my 3 children, biking to school. And so I think that that would be a key initiative for me when it comes to schools and bikes, but also make sure that we're promoting bike safety in our schools. I think that's vital to having a culture that's going to work for cyclists, motorists, and pedestrians. Yeah, and on schools, I also want to give credit to Nicole Friedman, the mayor's bike leader. You know, we've got several programs in the schools right now, like Roll It Forward and the Bike Safety Program, which make a difference. We should continue programs like that as well. I think that we need to mandate a bike education and bike safety course as part of freshman orientation at every college and university across the city. I want to bring the leaders of those institutions to the table. I want to bring our cycling advocates and cyclist groups with the institutions and work on how we can get bike safety and bike education programs for every freshman who's going to go to school in Boston and make it part of freshman orientation. We also ought to make sure that our higher ed institutions are distributing safety equipment. We ought to have higher ed institutions offering the students helmets, reflectors, lights, everything that can help make a cyclist truly safe on our roads. So I want to see a real commitment to building bike infrastructure across the city, and it's not just cycle tracks. I want to see bike walks, bike corrals built in across the city, but I also want to see holistic planning with developers so that we're making sure that our developments and new housing and new commercial space in the city are dedicating space for storing bikes, showers for cyclists, and make all of those pieces, put all of those pieces in place and start with real planning, but then also prioritize it in implementation so that we are truly a bike-friendly city, and that starts with bike infrastructure. I think we can also learn a lot from other cities. In New York, a tenant has a right to ask for bike parking and the landlord needs to provide it. We should explore a similar type of ordinance in the city to make sure that whether it's landlords, owners of businesses, whatever the case may be, that we are setting aside and dedicating space for bike parking. Too often we think biking is just for certain people, and I've seen that it's very much to the contrary. For starters, I've biked through just about every neighborhood in the city during this race, and I've seen the entire city engaging cycling and loving cycling. So we want to make sure that in everything we do, whether it's bike infrastructure, bike education, and how we support and grow the cycling community, that we're reaching out to all communities. And this is something we should be encouraging all of Boston to do. But I think we're already there in many ways. This is about the city coming behind and opening the doors and saying we're truly going to do everything we can to be bike friendly. And I think we'll see the entire city get behind that. So part of what the city should do to encourage cycling across all communities in Boston is make sure that our plan and our implementation shows this. That's about having cycle tracks on Malcolm X Boulevard, connecting Dudley to the rest of the city with real bike infrastructure. These are the key points where we can show our commitment to every neighborhood in the city and making every neighborhood truly friendly for cyclists. Part of supporting biking in Boston is also supporting biking businesses, but recognizing that a bike-friendly city creates an awful lot of economic growth for the whole city. I think about a group like Urban Event Tours, which is focused on tourism. I also think about the Refuge Cafe, where they have a big piece of bike parking right in front of the store, a big section for that. And I remember at the end of my bike ride with Alston Bikes, we stopped at the Refuge Cafe, and you can see the direct link between supporting local businesses, supporting local biking businesses, and overall growth for all of our communities. So I think this is vital for what we do. We have to educate local businesses on the importance of supporting biking because it helps grow business, and we have to support local businesses that are directly tied to biking. One other piece are nonprofits like Bike Not Bombs, which prepares people to go out and get skills that are transferable directly to biking or to other jobs. So there's a whole lot of connections that we can foster and support when it comes to local businesses and local nonprofits and cycling. So I think we have to be creative when it comes to funding for bike infrastructure, but there's a lot we can do. For starters, this is about priorities in the mayor's capital budget. So right away, the next mayor can prioritize the construction of cycle tracks and other bike infrastructure in the capital budget, and we can begin construction right away. I think we have to really look at the Boston Bike Plan and then go from there and how we build the priorities in the capital budget. But the other natural piece are pilot and our relationships with institutions across the city. I believe if we approach our institutions and talk to them about making an investment in bike infrastructure, they will be supportive in helping to fund it because it will benefit their institutions as well as the neighborhoods of Boston and the biking community generally. So I believe that there's great opportunity when it comes to funding and that we can get this done. When it comes to decision-making on transportation issues, and that's almost everything that involves urban planning, we need to make sure that we have a truly transparent process, and I'm dedicated to making sure we reform our development process to make it truly transparent and to make sure that we're going first and foremost to the community for their input. And as I've shown during this campaign, I'm always going to reach out to the biking community for their input. I also want to make sure that we transform our culture inside City Hall. I want it to be user-friendly, customer-friendly, and truly take community input. But there are also directives that a mayor can make that will make a big difference. And for starters, I want to make the rule that all things we do in the transportation department are going to be done from a complete streets planning perspective. And that we're going to put pedestrians, bikers, and motorists on an even footing in Boston as we go forward. And I think that will have a major impact on how we execute and how we carry out transportation planning for Boston. In addition to investing in bike infrastructure to help make this a more bike-friendly city, we also have to make sure that we're enforcing the rules of the road. But I'll never do that in a way that it's being done in New York right now, where we're stopping cyclists for minor infractions and allowing motorists to get away with breaking several rules. I want to make sure that we begin by enforcing the rules when it comes to motorists who aren't really held accountable at all when they violate laws that impact safe and healthy cycling in the city. I'll make sure that this becomes a major part of how we train city workers, whether it's police, code enforcement officers and inspectional services department, or the transportation department in Boston. I want us to create a culture where we're focused on safety for everyone who's using Boston's streets, but most especially focus on keeping our bikers and pedestrians safe. Prioritizing a network of bike paths and cycle tracks will be one of my major priorities in my first budget. We will make it a top priority within the capital budget, and we will begin construction right away, and we will look to the cycling community for help in making sure we do it correctly.